One of the great new features in that Google has just released on March 23rd to the Goshen School District Google domain is that you can now set up Google Meet breakout rooms in advance using Google Calendar. One of the biggest frustrations that teachers have shared about using breakout rooms is that the breakout rooms can't be saved and set ahead of time. But now, using Google Calendar to set up your Google Meet, you can do that as well. This is different from setting up your Google Meet through Google Classroom. So, a slightly different paradigm shift is necessary in order to do this. This is not something that you would need to do all of the time, of course. You can still use your generic Google Meet from Classroom, but this is a way if you are in favor of using breakout rooms but haven't necessarily wanted to do the work in the middle of the meeting, this is a great way to start to manage that and set them up ahead of time, whether it's for your reading groups or for your project-based learning or any type of activities like that. So it will create a different link for you for a Google Meet separate from the one from Google Classroom, but you can certainly copy and paste that link into your Google Classroom for your students. And you can still have the same host controls that you have as a classroom teacher. You can turn those on as well. So let me show you a little bit about how to do that. If you're not familiar with Google Calendar, it does live over here in your little tile, right? So Google Calendar lives in your apps menu, and it's certainly an integrated feature of the G Suite. I just moved over to a clean page on my calendar. Every one of you has a Google Calendar with your name associated, as well as all of the Google Classrooms and some other groups that you might be a part of. So you may have a ton of different things on there, but I'm just going to show you working on my calendar for now. You can check and uncheck any of those boxes if you don't need them. The quickest way to create a calendar event is just to click a space on the screen, and it will give you quick access to populate a calendar. And you can do this right here, and you can start to populate the name of the event. And you can, the time doesn't really matter. You can go over time if you need to, but you can adjust those things right here. And including adding, you would add the Google Meet conferencing. You could add a guest. So I've got a training domain I'll add. And then right from here, I can see the Google Meet link to share, although this person would get it as well. Or I can click this gear to change my settings, in which case now I have these host controls, which is great. This is just like the host controls you have when you use Google Classroom. So you would want to turn this off, right? If you want to use it like Google Classroom, where you have to be the first person in and people can't join anonymously and things like that. Over here on the click the breakout rooms, and you can set up the breakout rooms right away. And it's a simple drag and drop situation, or you can start to type names in as well. And if they're invited to the meeting, they'll be populated down from your main call into the breakout room. Once you save it, it will be populated for you so that once you start the meeting, you'll be able to initiate your breakout rooms, and they will be sent to those places. Most people don't love the quick access panel like that. When I start an event, though, I tend to go right away to the more options screen because I like how it gives me more control here. So I had a couple of things listed, and I wanted to show you how you can use Google Groups to populate things. And this is where you might want to think about your principals, administrators. It's likely that we are not going to be doing this as classroom teachers for the most part. What I wanted to show you is very cool is that all of our buildings have a faculty and staff list. This one has 140 members on it, all your buildings, and there are other ones out there in the district as well. But what's very cool about this, and I just added them here like this, I could add, maybe you want to do 2 buildings. Okay, so we can add them in that group list, and then the Google Meet is created here, and I can already click conference settings and work in breakout rooms, and it already created, trying to make an even number of people, 61 rooms of all different people. Many of you will see your names here in different breakout rooms. Now I can change that and make the rooms bigger, more people. I can go down and keep doing that, and it will do that for me. And it'll start to merge and change the size of people. Can also do a shuffle if you want, or you can clear them all out. And if you clear everybody out, then you can manually work on your group. Now this is quite a large group, but I could take groups and move them down. If I don't want to drag and drop to move them down, I can just start typing, and you'll see names populate, and I can start putting them in there to make these groups. All right. So as you click and add them, you're able to add people to those lists, and then even from there, you could even drag and drop. So this is quite a lot of people to manage, but you can understand that with your classes or smaller groups, it might be better. And of course, you can always come back over to host controls for students and turn off access. But for someone like principals who might want to do breakout rooms for faculty meetings or some sort of collaboration, this is a great opportunity. These are managed by the school district or by computer administrators, so they may not you may not have access to all of those lists. You may want to use a list like this, though. You may have a custom email list, for instance, a department or a team or a grade level. And so I have a list here called the Social Studies Department from Goshen High School. If I click that list, these people will come down right away. And again, I can work on this as well. All right, so my breakout rooms can exist here for that group list as well. So the reason I bring this up is that you may want to do this with not your department, but you may want to do this with your class. Maybe you have a period four or whatever the class might be called. If that's the case, you're going to need to make, instead of manually inputting each person into this guest list, which you could do, you may want to create Google Contacts. So Google Contacts also lives over here in your panel, and you can come down to Contacts. It looks like a circle with a little white silhouette on it. And Google Contacts would allow you to create labels, and you can start to label your faculty members. So most people who you've already been emailing with are already here on the list. But if you want to just find them, you can search alphabetically, and you can click a tag to tag them with a label, and that will create a group for you. So it's not the most intuitive process, but it is a plausible way to move forward with creating these lists. So, and the other way here, just on an independent meeting, I could add a few different people, and then again, manually add them, click on the gear and the breakout room, and it'll be created for me if I'd like to do that. Once you do that, if you click save, one of the easiest ways, then you don't even need to identify them with that time, but one of the easiest ways to go back and find that experience, that moment in time, is to then just grab the link that exists there for you. So once you go to a calendar event and save it, go back to a current one that I have today, you can go back to a current meeting. Oh, here it is right here. I made it today. And you can copy the information right here by clicking the copy panel. And then you can take that and paste that into your Google Classroom for students. All right, so if you don't want to send them the email, if they're not familiar with that, that is a way to go about it. You could then jump right in there and paste that link to them just like you would any other type of resource or material. So again, a great tip today that you can set up breakout rooms ahead of time in your Google Calendar. I hope this tutorial has been helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm always here to help. Thanks.